So this will be the first video in a set of videos that I plan to make to explain my story when it comes to weight loss and what I did and what you can do, tips, tricks, routine stuff that I've learned along the way. I'm not great at public speaking yet, or even making videos for that matter, so I apologize if this isn't the best thing in the world, or I trip over my words a lot, but how do you get better? You keep working on things. So I'm going to get over those barriers and start with this video. This one's going to talk about my background so that you can have an idea of where I come from and to give more of a whole picture of everything. Um, so I wasn't really too much of an overweight child. I was pretty average sized. And then in high school, I was maybe a little bit overweight, maybe like 10 or 15, maybe 20 pounds overweight. I can't remember exactly, but I did used to use eating as an escape, a comfort from stressors and typical stuff that people do. It was when I went to college in my late teens, early 20s, where I really started to gain the weight. I also used to game a lot, which nothing wrong with gaming, but we're talking this was the early 2000s. So World of Warcraft was really big. I was quite sedentary. Um, I want to say back in my early 20s, I probably was around 210 at my heaviest. So was a substantial size. Then I started to lose weight. I want to say around 23-ish. And I started doing stuff on my own, and I was really motivated and really dedicated. And the gym I went to at the time, Sport Fit, this was many years ago, mind you. We're talking over 15 years ago. They had a Biggest Loser competition at the gym and it involved some pretty nice prizes. I can't remember everything, but it was pretty substantial. And I had a trainer at the gym and I was really motivated to do this. So I went really hardcore and I used a lot of willpower and I forced my way through it, and I did win by a slight margin. There was one other gentleman that was really close to me with overall weight loss. I want to say I think I got down to like 125, and that was pretty substantial, but I was really hardcore and I was really forcing myself to do this. And I did lose the weight pretty fast and it did feel really good, but it also felt like a huge burden. Everything that I was doing with really restrictive eating, I was doing really intense workouts, a lot of strength training, and back then, once I lost the weight, I was in my head and was like, oh, I'm never gonna let myself get big again. And I was very like, rawr. And I started doing CrossFit and I did maintain it for a bit. I'd say maybe like a year and a half, 2 years. I got pretty heavy into CrossFit after I stopped doing the gym type stuff because I thought CrossFit was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of work, very strenuous. Not There's nothing wrong with CrossFit. I still do it occasionally on holiday WODs, but it was just really hard for me personally to maintain going all the way out to CrossFit during the times that they had classes. But I did do it for a while, and although I did eventually stop going and I stopped working out and I slowly got back into not as good eating habits and I slowly gained the weight back over years. I want to say, I don't remember exactly how long, but I started putting on weight again, probably in like 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18. 2018 and 19 and early 2020 is when I was my heaviest, and what you condemn, you become. And me saying that I wasn't going to gain all that weight back, I ended up gaining even more. I want to say at my next heaviest, I was probably around 220, possibly more. I had a lot of self-shame, and I didn't like getting on the scale unless I had to for doctor's visits or whatnot, and even that was just not something that I wanted to do. And then after COVID hit, several months after COVID hit, there wasn't a lot else to do since there was no work. So I did start on weight loss again. I got really focused, and I did use a program back then to start my weight loss, which was Optavia, which is a completely fine program. It's really good if you don't have a place to start. Long term, though, I don't really recommend relying on a program. I think it's great to start, but I think it's also really important to work on building up everything from within so that you have your own compass, your own guide within yourself. It makes it so that you can be more adaptable and you're not relying on something external. You're relying on yourself instead, and that's going to be one of the really big things that I'm going to get into in one of the other videos. But I used Optavia, and I started losing weight pretty quickly. I probably lost 40-ish pounds within a few months. I don't remember exactly how much, but I did start dropping weight pretty quickly. Maybe I got down to like 170, and then I magically got pregnant. Magically, I didn't even know that I could get pregnant. But apparently weight loss definitely helps with that. I found out from my GYN at the time. So needless to say, I had to not do the program anymore. And pregnancy was very hard on me, especially in the first trimester, because I get really nauseated. I never threw up. I didn't have like traditional morning sickness, but I had a general uneasiness, queasiness that I could only satiate by eating what I craved, and that would help with the feelings. So needless to say, when I was pregnant, I didn't have the best eating patterns, and I definitely gained a lot more weight. I didn't go past my original highest weight, so the progress that I made did make a difference. But once I gave birth, I was still probably around like 190, 187. I can't remember exactly, but I took a few months and recovered, and eventually I got back into weight loss slowly, step by step. But this time I didn't use a program. This time I decided to use mindset and to use a completely different approach. What felt right to me, what felt right for my body. And I learned a lot by observing what worked for me and what didn't work for me, and always making adjustments and making slow improvements over time. And I did have some setbacks. The end of 2022, I had some medical stuff going on, and I fell out of routine for 2 months because I wasn't feeling good. And I was really feeling down about that because I thought that really hurt my progress. But I had been seeing an epigenetic coach, and I had blood work done like a year before that setback happened, and I had blood work done around that time, and she said that my blood work showed that even with this setback, I had made so much progress that I was still on a really good track, and that even if you have a month or two of a setback, it's not enough to derail all the progress that was made. And that really helped me motivational wise. And so I kept going, and I've stayed on that ever since. And I've added to my routine. And for me, it's about starting where you're at, doing what you can, and then slowly adding to that as it feels right, and not forcing yourself. Force is something that I'm going to address in one of the other videos, but I feel that the more time that you take to make changes, the longer lasting they can be. Some weeks I would lose more pounds than others, but I've allowed myself to still splurge and still enjoy things, especially when I'm on the cruises and whatnot, because if you constantly tell yourself no, you can't have those things, it becomes a shadow of resentment inside of you that's going to want to express itself. So it's more about managing how you view food, how you view exercise, and it's more so about mindset than anything else. And the approach that I've taken and that I'm going to share is different than any approach that I've seen from people in regards to weight loss. I will say Optavia does talk a lot about mindset and does talk a lot about different things like healthy habits, and they do a lot of training and everything, which is great. But I feel there's a difference when you're doing it through a program, that any program is going to have somewhat of an ulterior motive. It's still, you know, there's a horse in that race, financial gain, which is totally fine. You know, that is totally fine. But I feel that when you do it for yourself, with yourself, and you work on the mindset purely because you really want to, that self-motivation is what is going to have a very impactful change on how you view yourself. So that's going to be more so my approach to all of this, and I'm going to get more into that soon. I don't know if I'll have a chance to make another video today, but I am going to try. I'm not the most organized person yet, but I'm going to hopefully slowly get more organized so that I can put everything in one video. Well, for each one of the parts that I plan to make. But this is my background story, just so you can understand where I'm coming from, and you know what my struggles have been, and hopefully I can help more people on their path to healthy habits for themselves. Thanks.